She had built an empire from scratch. Natasha Wren, CEO of Wren Global Enterprises, was the kind of woman whose name made stock markets pause and boardrooms go silent. At 42, she had 14,000 employees under her wing, 3 private jets, a penthouse in Manhattan, and a reputation so sharp it could cut glass. Forbes had featured her 3 times. Business Insider called her the most fearless woman in American capitalism. She had everything the world said mattered: power, money, influence, and the cold, polished face of someone who never needed anyone. But behind the titanium armor of titles and trophies, there was a wound so old it had stopped bleeding and just quietly throbbed: the memory of her mother's kitchen, the smell of cumin and cardamom, and the sound of a woman humming softly while the whole world slept. She had walked away from that kitchen at 19. She had told herself it was ambition. She had told herself her mother would understand. She had told herself she would go back. And then the years did what years always do. They ran without asking permission. 23 years. That was how long it had been. 23 years of phone calls that grew shorter, of holidays missed, of promises buried under quarterly reports. And then one Tuesday morning, while Natasha was in the middle of a billion-dollar merger negotiation, her assistant placed a small white envelope on her desk. Inside was a single line written in her brother's handwriting. "Mama had a stroke. She's asking for you." The meeting dissolved. The numbers blurred. For the first time in 2 decades, Natasha Wren sat in her leather chair and could not think about money. She was on a plane within the hour, not a private jet, not a chartered flight, a regular seat on a regular airline, like the 19-year-old girl she used to be. The house was exactly as she remembered: small, sun-faded, with a cracked step on the porch that her father had always promised to fix and never did. Her brother opened the door and said nothing. He just stepped aside. And Natasha walked in. The smell hit her first. That smell: turmeric, old wood, cotton washed with bar soap, the smell of her entire childhood. She followed it past the narrow hallway, past the photographs she had never looked at long enough, past the faded blue curtains that had always reminded her of the sky just before rain. Her mother was in the kitchen. Frail now, thinner, her right hand slightly curled from the stroke, but standing at the stove, trying with her left hand to stir a pot of rice the way she always had. Natasha stood in the doorway and could not move. Her mother turned slowly, and when she saw her daughter, her powerful, famous, unreachable daughter, she did not cry. She simply smiled. The way only mothers smile, like nothing had been lost, like no time had passed, like love was not something that required explanation or apology. "I made your rice," her mother said softly. "The way you like it, with the extra ghee." And Natasha Wren, the woman who had negotiated with presidents, who had faced hostile takeovers without blinking, who had built a billion-dollar company on pure will, broke. She crossed the kitchen in 3 steps and wrapped her arms around her mother, and she wept. She wept the way she had not wept since she was a child. She wept for every missed birthday, every short phone call, every holiday she had chosen a conference room over this table. Her mother held her with her one good arm and said nothing, because a mother's silence can hold more than any word ever could. They stayed like that for a long time. Then they sat, and they ate the rice together. And Natasha talked, really talked, for the first time in years. She talked about the loneliness behind the success, the nights she had sat in 5-star hotels and felt completely hollow, the way she had chased money because she was terrified that without it, she would be nothing. Her mother listened, and when she was done, she placed her left hand over her daughter's and said, "Beta, you were never nothing to me, not for a single day." That week, Natasha moved her mother to a house with warm light and a big kitchen. She hired a caretaker, yes, but she also came every Saturday. She sat at the table. She stirred the pots. She learned finally what her mother had always known, that no empire in the world is worth more than the person who loved you before you became anyone. The billion-dollar debt she had spent her whole career building, it was never in any boardroom. It had always been waiting for her, quietly in a small kitchen, with extra ghee and a mother's unwavering smile. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories. where every story reminds you that love is always worth coming home to.